for the majority of the time today, I will be sharing my screen, and my plan is to cover most of the basics for WeVideo editing so that if you were to start it with students, you could give them the information that they need to get started. There is an advanced class that Dana LaChapelle will be teaching later today, and if you didn't register for that, I would suggest that you watch it in replay later, because Dana she's a media teacher. I'm in an elementary setting, right? So I teach all subjects, and so video is just part of that. But she also has used WeVideo extensively with her media classes, and so that would be one to watch probably later as well. So hopefully your dashboard looks similar to my dashboard. So I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the aspects that you see on the dashboard, and then as I mentioned, we'll create a video, and then as we're creating the video, we'll get an opportunity to learn about a lot of the different features that WeVideo has. So let me minimize this here. So here, just basically on the dashboard, you see your used time, and that would be like your used published time. And if you have your own account with WeVideo, then that's of course limited, more limited than it would be if you have an account that you've negotiated with licenses for your class or for your school, as well as your storage that you can see here. And then up here at the top, you can see your main dashboard, the projects that you currently are working on, both your own projects as well as shared projects, all the media that you have imported into your account, all the videos that you have exported, some templates that you or your students could work from, and then the admin tab, you'll see if you are an owner or an admin for a group. And that would be something that if you had accounts for your whole class or for your whole school or things like that, or for multiple classes, that you would be able to use. And I know that Dana's going to go over that a little bit more because she uses that in her program. All right, so then in the Create New, we've got our videos, recordings, our GIFs, and our podcasts. So most of the time your kids are going to be using video, but one aspect that I think is interesting, not only from a student perspective, but from a teaching perspective, since many of us are going to be creating videos, and some of us had screen capture software that the district was providing last year, but that maybe they're not providing this year, there is the option in recording to be able to record your webcam, to record your screen, or to record both. So if you were to choose one of those, then one of the nice things is as you do your recording, it automatically gets placed back into a project, and so you could do your editing really easily from there. And that option is there once we start a video as well. Let me go back here. And then a podcast, it's just going to record your audio, but again, it goes into being able to edit it really easily. And then a GIF, just exactly like it sounds, right? You put a small video in, and then when you publish it, it'll publish it as a GIF so that it'll be a repeated video. And then here, there's a variety of templates that you or your students would be able to start from. And when they open up a template, it basically has sort of like a formula that they can follow, and they would replace the different titles with things that they think are appropriate, or the video footage or images with things that match what they're doing. So for now though, I'm gonna have everybody click on video. So everybody should see something similar to this. And as I think either Nick or Matt, you mentioned, if you only see my media, but you do see a star next to you, see if you're able to access some stock media.
If your screen's smaller, you might just see the icon also instead of the whole spelled out thing.
Yeah, so maybe just the folder with the star, just the A, yeah. So one of the first things, of course, that you're going to do is you're going to import some media, or you're going to find some media that'll work for you. So students can use this button here to import, as well as here where it says add. So you can click on either of those if you'd like. And then you can see that you can, of course, import media that is saved to your computer, and you can select that media, or you can import from Google Drive or a variety of social media sites. It does work better, though, I will say, if they're importing from Google Drive and it's something that's been shared with them, it does tend to work better if they have dragged those files into their drive and they don't leave them and shared with me, so that they have a copy of those files in their Google Drive. And then on the left-hand side under import, you'll see your folder for My Media. So that will have all media that you have imported. One helpful thing is to create folders within that media storage so that you know how to easily find media that you need for your projects that maybe would apply to multiple projects. But so right now, if you are seeing my screen, if you're off of WeVideo and seeing my screen, in that section where you'll see your media, if you right click, you get the option to create a folder. And then you'll see that folder in which you can put media. On the left-hand side also, there's the shared folder. So if there's students who are working on shared projects, that's where they will find media that's been shared with them or that you've shared with them. And then project media is specific to the project that you're working on. And I might just import something real quick. And so if I want media in a particular folder, then I'm going to open that folder before I import. Okay, so once you have your media, once you're importing it, if you're looking at my screen right now currently, you'll see that you see the moving blue line that's telling you that it's importing it. Up above, you can change between a list view and a thumbnail. If you click to the thumbnail, then it will tell you like where it is in the process. So right now it's still trying to get the file, and then it'll tell you how far along it is in the processing. And then once media is in your folders, wherever you put it, either in My Media or within subfolders, you can right click on that and then you can share it to that particular project. So that makes it a little bit easier once you've shared it to that project. You can just click on project media every time you're working within that project so that everything's organized and you don't have to, because once you start doing a lot of videos, there's a ton of media. And so instead of having to sift through it, it's a little bit more organized. So right now, before we drag any media into the timelines and talk a little bit about the actual editing parts, go ahead and go up to the top left where it says My Video and click to rename your video next to the 3 lines there. That's where it says My Video. And that's a big thing with students, is you want to make sure they name it so they don't end up with My Video 1, My Video 2. All right, so once it's named, go ahead and click on Stock Media. And if you'd like, you can click in the search bar if you're looking for something in particular. And maybe try to find at least one video clip and one image. Once you've searched, on the right-hand side, it says All, and there's a drop-down where you can filter by videos and images and audio. So maybe choose at least one video, though, and at least one image that you like. And then you can drag those down onto your timeline. For right now, we're just going to drag it down onto the track that says Video 1. And when you drag them down, if you're dragging onto the same track, you'll notice that the piece of media will appear green if it's an okay place to put it. If you try to put it on top of another piece of media, then you're going to either, it'll be red if you really can't place it there, or if it's yellow, if you let go of the mouse, then you have the option to either replace what you've already put in there or to insert it and push the other forward. So you can try those things. And then because we're working with just a few pieces of footage or images right now, if you want to switch back to my screen real quick so you can see, in the bottom right-hand corner, this part becomes really important with kids later, especially when they're trying to do more precise editing. You'll see the zoom option down here in the bottom right hand corner. You can either drag the circle or you can click on the plus and minus. But if you drag it, you'll notice that your individual files will look larger, which if you're going to cut out like half a second, right, at the end when it's like, oh, somebody jumped in the frame right at the very end and you just want to cut out that part, it gets really important to be able to be more precise with that. And then also for kids, sometimes it's just easier for them to see it bigger. You do, of course, have to explain to them that that did not change the actual length of the video, that it's just simply your view, like when you're zooming in and out. So go ahead and click, though, on one of your video files that are on the timeline right now. And if you do not see the options that I see, like the little pencil and the effects and the garbage can, if you see 3 lines, if you click on that, then you will see the options. So these are kind of like shortcuts for some of the editing features, and then I'll show you how we can work with those individual pieces more. But you want to see that menu. So there's obviously the delete. So students can delete that piece of footage or image if they want. They can also just click on it, and once it's highlighted in orange, it means it's selected, and they could just hit backspace. So it's another thing they can do. If you want to click not on the pencil quite yet, but the one right next to it, this is where you can very quickly fade, if you want to choose the option to fade that piece of footage or image in and out. You can click on fade, and the default's going to be 1 second in, 1 second out. And then there's also the effects. So if you click on the FX, you have some options there to change the effect of the video clip. So you can maybe just play with an effect, try it, and then click apply and see what that looks like for that particular video. And then if you either click on the pencil or if you double click on the clip, you're going to see a variety of editing options.
And Erica, my clip also had audio, so I've got a little speaker image here that I have the option to control.
Yes. So what I found with the stock media is a lot of it did not have audio, but if you have the speaker, then you can also fade in the, like if you click on the speaker, you can, it's like a shortcut to fade the audio in and out. And then you can mute it as well. But if you, when you double click on that clip, you'll see also that audio option. So right now, does everyone have a clip that they are looking at the editing features? Okay, so first option here, if you want to take a look, you can rotate your clips, you can flip them, right? So kids, of course, can have fun with these. Put Rushton back. You can fit it full screen, or you can change it so whatever the original dimensions were, if there was like a border around it. You can change how much of the window it takes up. And so if you change how much the window there it takes up, and let's say, for example, the kids want to move it up to the top left-hand corner, then they can either drag it on the actual preview screen over on the right-hand side, or they can change the position. All of these have reset features, of course, on the right-hand side, where you see like the reload. That will reset it back to the default. And then if they have a background behind, if they make the scale of the video smaller and they can see the background, then they have that option here to blur the background as well.
That's really handy, especially with students shooting on phones. That this is kind of the standard, so that's great.
So at any point when they make changes, if they want those changes to keep, they have to make sure they click Save Changes, of course. And when they do that, it'll take them back into the timeline view again. If they double click again, they got it there. All those changes have been saved. On the audio tab, they have a few different options here. Here they can mute the full clip, or they can adjust the audio volume for that particular clip. And then here they have a little bit more control in terms of the fading instead of just using the shortcut on the clip itself. So they could decide for how long they want to fade in or how long they want to fade out the audio specifically. Everybody's good? I can keep going? It's hard to gauge on Zoom how, like, are people, am I going too fast, too slow? Are you watching? Okay, so animation real quick.
Can you go back real quick, Erica?
Yeah.
So I've tried all of them except positions. How do, what is the purpose of that one? Does it make it smaller or bigger?
It moves it on the screen. So if you're watching mine right now, I'm dragging it because I'm not going to want to mess with the X and Y coordinates, right? And try to guess. So instead, I can actually just drag the clip.
Because, yeah, I was wondering, like, how do I know it's minus 103?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So if I am on now the animation tab, if they wanted to move across the screen, right, when it's going, they're going to tell it, like, okay, this is my start position, and then I want my end position to be down here, for example. And then if they save those changes, then as they play that clip, it's going to move across the screen. So they do have that option to move their video. And then here you can select the fade as well if you want the video part, not the audio particularly, but the video to fade in and out, and you can edit those settings as well. So you can decide both how long you want it to fade as well as what percentage visibility you want for the clip, both at the beginning and the end. So they can customize that there. That next tab, color, just all of the basic editing features in terms of brightness, contrast, saturation. So kids can kind of play with that a little bit. And I'll have you kind of play with your clips with that in a minute. If they're using a green screen, this is going to be something that they're going to want to use. So they select the dropper and then they drop on the screen, which is the part that they want to take out, right? So if they have the green screen behind them, they're going to click on the dropper. They're going to click on the portion of the green that they see that is most representative of what they have in the background. Because I will say with WeVideo compared to other editing software, green screen's a little bit trickier because a lot of times it'll pick up that individual hue and then it has a hard time taking out the green everywhere else. If it's not exactly the same. So lighting is really important for that if you're using WeVideo, as well as just them trying to find the particular hue of green that represents mostly what they see. But then once they've done that, they can play with the color balance and sensitivity and all of that as well to get it looking as natural as possible. And then last tab here, if they want to speed up or slow down the clips, then they can do that. The range part here would tell them for how long, right? So the clip's 5 seconds long. So let's say, for example, just for the first 2 seconds, I want it going really fast. And then I want it to slow down after that. And then it'll of course shorten the clip itself because part of it's faster. But at first the ladybugs are moving fast and then they go back to their normal selves. So those are all kind of like features that they can use in terms of how they want to edit individual clips. For an image, they're going to see a lot of the same options, right? So same thing for positioning and rotating, scaling it down or up. The scale can be helpful if they have something like they take video and they didn't zoom in enough and you have all this extra stuff in the background that you don't really want. It can help that you can kind of use that scale there to focus more on the subjects of the shot. And then those same features that we saw, of course, no green, that we saw on the video as well.
And it looks like they do have stock footage with green screens if anyone wants to play around with that. Just to try it. I just searched for green screen and a bunch of things came up.
Awesome. Okay, so why don't we take, if everyone's okay with that, about 6 minutes to just kind of play with the different features that are in that you can see within the editing options. Is everyone okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Erica, I have a question. When I downloaded the videos and images onto the video one,
Mm-hmm.
how do I know when I put them here, which one's the image and which one's the video? Or when I
Well,
drag it, it will just be an image, one image of it? Is that what it is?
yeah, and also, I mean, obviously when it's your own footage, you're gonna know. But if you look when you're looking for images and videos, if you'd like in the stock media, you can filter up here. And then if you notice on the images, there's no time, like it doesn't tell you how long the clip is. And then once it's down here though, yes, like you said, you're gonna see like a repeated, well, you do see a repeated pattern, I guess, either way.
Okay. I just thought maybe there's a faster way. Maybe they're orange and then the other images are green when, when you download them.
Right.
You just see the first image. So I just have to click on it to, I guess, find out if it's okay. There's no shortcut. Okay.
Not that I know of.
All right. And then when I downloaded my video, that's only a copy, right? It won't change the original.
It won't change the original.
Okay, because it's still on my.
Yeah, it makes a copy of what you.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
And the videos will, if you're zoomed in, you'll see like the subtle difference between the front and the back, whereas the photo will just be the exact same. So if you zoom in on the clips, like Erica was showing, then you can notice some subtle changes that way.
All right, is everyone ready to see a few more things and then you can play some more? A couple of things here just on the timeline itself that I want to show you before we add anything else to it. So you can rename any of these tracks if you want, right? So if you had like your kids wanted to rename it as like they wanted their video that if they were doing a reporting piece and they wanted the anchors all to be on one line and they wanted all of the video that they had when they were out in the field on another line, right? They could click on where it says video 1 and they could put anchor footage, and then on video 2 and they could put reporter footage, so that if they're just trying to work within one track and or if they're sharing a project and someone's assigned to one track, then they can rename any of those. You can also snap clips to other clips in the timeline. Once we have some audio, maybe we'll play with that. And then there is a menu here, if you notice on the 3 dots next to each of those tracks, so you can lock the track. You can make the track the solo track so that it mutes all the other tracks. Once you're done, if you want to mute them all at once and keep only one piece of audio. And then the hide levels we'll get to once we add some audio. You can hide the track for the moment so that if you have if your kids for whatever reason have a whole bunch of tracks, they can hide them so they can see more of the tracks at one time. And then right here, they can also mute that full track individually. So let's go ahead though and add some text. So if you go back up to the top where you found My Media and Stock Media, if you want to click where you see either the box with the A or you might see the word text. I'm going to switch back to the list view here, the tiles. Okay. On the left-hand side, you see motion, right? So meaning that there's going to be some level of motion with that, animated motion with that text. Static titles are exactly what they sound like. They show up just as where they are, and you see the text. And then you can see things that this would not be part, for example, of a free account, but it's there in paid accounts that you get some options that would be sort of your template text that you would be having, and then little call outs that they can add as well. So first we'll try with just the title. So if you want to choose one of the motion text that you would use as a title and go ahead and drag it to the beginning of your video. So if you have an image or a video right there, you're going to see that option again where you see the yellow when you drag it to the very beginning. And if you click insert and push, it's going to allow you to put your title there. And then once you have a title there in your timeline, if you double click or you click on that pencil, again, you can see some of the options that you had before with the rotation and flipping, scaling it. But the first one there will It looks like the conversation bubble. And you can choose the color, and then in the text box below there, that's where you would type your title. And then you have options for different fonts, sizing. It'll take an audit, like if you don't change it to manual, you're not gonna be able to change the size. So if you click on manual, you can change the size yourself. Otherwise, it will base it on what it was automatically.
Erica, mine is not inserting the title spot. When you clicked title or on the text, you just inserted it in the front?
Yeah, I dragged it down, and then when I drag it basically on top of that same clip,
oh, I see.
It turns yellow, and then if I pick up my hands from the mouse, and then I should see that option that says insert and push.
Okay, because I did that and I don't see it on there. Okay.
You have to be like a little bit precise and make sure you're not going over where on the far left controls.
So I should see a yellow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it turns red or it just kind, yeah, then it's telling you, sorry, you're out of the boundaries.
Okay. All right, got that part, and then I missed the spot because I was still troubleshooting.
That's okay. So then just double click on that title once it's on the timeline.
Okay.
And then you should see a couple of tabs at the top. One looks like a conversation bubble, and that's where you're going to be able to actually type the content for the title.
Okay.
Okay, does everyone have a title? Good to go. Okay. So now if your kids wanted to add subtitles, I mean, obviously not the way of like adding subtitles when you're on YouTube, but just individual subtitles to a clip. If you go to static, I mean, they could use some of the motion ones as well, but static has it set up nicely. And these are the ones that are default with the free program. So if you are using the free program with your students at the beginning of the year or at any point, then these are the ones that they would see anyhow. So if you see subtitle there or lower third, for example, you could drag that down, and on the timeline, on the track that says video 2, you can put it right above, for example, a video clip that you would like to add information for. And then if you double click, same thing, you're gonna get a text box where you can type. So maybe I'll call mine Ladybugs. And then there's all the normal formatting options of font, size of the font, spacing, all of those things. And you can also drag and change the position as well of where that shows up on the screen. Let's go ahead and add a subtitle to one of your clips. And then when you preview, you'll see both the clip as well as the subtitle on it. And now that we have a few different things on the timeline, I do want to show you how to change the length of those things that do appear, a couple of different options. So here, for example, with my subtitle, it's obviously too long, right? It's covering, well, it does both cover ladybugs. I guess it's not too long for that. But if I wanted it just on that first clip, there's a couple of different ways I can change the length of that. So one, if I go to either edge of the clip, you'll notice that then I get the 2 arrows. If I click and hold, then I can change the length. That's one way to do it. Another option, let's say, for example, I had it here and I knew which part I wanted to cut out. I can drag the playhead here to where I would like to cut. And then notice that this is the clip that has the orange box around it. So that's where that cut would be made, is on that clip, not the clip below it. So then when I click those scissors, it's going to split that into 2. And then I can, either I can move this other section, right, if I wanted it somewhere else, or I can click on it and hit backspace and delete that part. So for me, that particular method works well when you're doing something like, if I were editing here this footage and I wanted to get it to the part right where he stops talking, right? So in this particular clip, we have him here and he's just looking and looking and looking, but I don't want all of that, but I also don't want to cut him off. So then I can look and see, okay, this is basically where he has stopped talking. Now I can click on the clip, click the scissors, and then I can get rid of that last part. So I get the full part of him talking, but I don't have to worry about like guessing and checking by clicking on the end of the clip.
When you click on the scissors, do you press enter or tab to remove it, or just?
So if I clicked on the scissors here and then it's split into 2 clips, I click on the part that I don't want, and then I can either use that menu to click the trash can to delete, or I can just hit backspace.
Backspace, okay.
Yeah, or delete on my keyboard.
Okay.
And then of course you're going to end up with gaps, right, at times. One of the things that I find very handy is when that, you know, once you've edited a bunch of different clips and you want to move a whole bunch at once, either I can snap them together, or just even using the kind of basic computer feature of holding shift to be able to select multiple things on your screen. I can click, and now both of these are selected, they're blue. So when I move this, they're going to move together. So I can move those back. And if I try to go too far, it's going to tell me, nope, you know, it's red, you can't move it there.
Erica, is there an undo button, you know, if you accidentally cut something that you don't want to cut?
Yeah, so right above where you see the names of the tracks on the left-hand side, there's that undo button. And then, so even though I cut this, for example, it's still there. I can still extend it out. So like I cut off Rushton at the end, but the original clip still remembers that Rushton was there and he was looking at the camera, so I could still extend it. So if I accidentally cut something off, it's not gone forever. It's there still. It's just, it remembers like my last decision I made with that clip.
And let's say you have media footage from, you know, students, and you're you delete too much, or you forgot to undo it. It's always good to download the original copy, or how do you save?
It'll always be here in its original form in my media.
Okay.
So like no matter what I do to this clip, the original clip that I imported is right here. So worst case scenario, your kids really mess it up, you can't, then they just take that clip out, put the original clip back in, and then restart the editing for that particular piece of footage. It doesn't hold them back too much for that. Okay, so we're going to add some transitions and backgrounds and audio. And then I'll give you a little more time to play. So up on the top again, where we had stock media, my media, text, and audio. So you'll either see the word audio or the music note. Again, on the left-hand side, if you're working with a free account, you're just going to see the free music. You won't see the premium music. But if you have the paid account, then you'll see all of those options as well as some sound effects. And so you know it's an audio file because you just see the audio for it, right? You're not seeing any video. And so that can only be dragged to an audio track. So if for some reason you don't have any audio tracks on the timeline, then you would add one. You can add multiple audio tracks as well. So go ahead and just drag any of the audio if you'd like. It's giving me a little preview. I'm sure you can hear that there. Down to the audio track at the very bottom of your timeline. So it should be below, the smaller, below your video 1. And then with that audio track, there's a few different things that are kind of important to know. One, you can mute the whole track if you wanted, right? You can change the volume of the entire track if you want on the left-hand side here, or by clicking on the audio options. Here on the audio options, you can use the default fade of 1 second in, 1 second out. Oops, sorry. 1 second in, 1 second out. But then if you notice when I add the fade, so actually go ahead and click on that little speaker and click next to fade, so you see not only the audio line, that audio level. I want to show you a couple things there. You can hide that level, the little blue line, if you click on the 3 dots and you choose hide levels. For me, I like it, and I'll tell you why in a minute here. So if I have my audio track here, I can see that 0% volume here, 100% volume here. At any point within that level, I can click and it'll create a little dot. And then I can create another little dot. And then I can tell it that I want to now adjust the audio levels myself. So if I were to click, here I have this dot that's at 100%. If I come to this second one, if I click and hold, I can drag it down and I can adjust the audio level for that particular period of time. So like, for example, you're going to hear the audio louder right in your title, and then maybe I have someone talking. And so I do still want some audio in the background, but for those pauses to be able to hear something, but I don't want audio that's going to overtake the person speaking. I can adjust those levels. And then maybe I want to keep my audio consistent, so I don't want to have to like cut it and then bring it to another part, but I can adjust the audio throughout. So again, I can just say, okay, here's a little marker for where I want to change my audio, put another little marker, and then I can say, okay, I'd like my audio to go back up again. So you can adjust the volume throughout the clip as well. Doesn't have to be the same for the whole thing. So then I'll let you play with that in a second. Let's look quickly though at transitions. So kids' favorites, right? Of course, they always like to use like 20 different transitions. So here's the transitions. You just can, let me make this track just slightly bigger so it looks more the same. You can click and drag it in between the 2 clips for which you want that transition. And then you'll see the transition appear there. If you click on that transition itself, and when you're in the default of like really small zoom, it's really hard to see it. So that's another place where you're going to want to play with that zoom if you're editing transitions. If you click on it, you can change the duration. And then you can apply it to everything at once if you want it between all the clips or just that selected clip. You want to get rid of it, you can click on the garbage can, or you can hit backspace and it's gone. I will say once you move clips around, then you're going to lose those transitions. So like if I were to take this clip and move it to the very end, it's not going to keep the transition there. So that is one thing that, like, if you're teaching kids, tell them to wait for the transitions till they've got all their clips where they need them to be, and do that as one of the last things so that they know that they don't have to like go back and add it in again. Small here.
Erica, real quick, if I want to select all of my transitions to be a certain length, and you know you're working in that first clip, and you say apply to all, does it apply it to all of your transitions, or do you need to select each one and then apply it to all?
That's a good question. So you're saying like if I had a cross blur here and I had a cross fade here? Correct. Let's try it out. So let's make it 3 seconds and select all. It only applied that.
So I would need to go, they would need to go in and select each transition and then hit apply to all.
Well, let's see if we have the same type. If I have a cross blur and I change the duration of that.
Nope.
Yeah, it still did not. Oh, wait, did I choose all? No, I choose selected. Yes, it looks like they would have to go back. I don't know why we have the select all then.
Yeah, that was my question. If I wanted to, you know, select all, then if I have, you know, a long video, then I would have to go through each transition and then say select all, where it seems logical that if I said I wanted to apply this to all my transitions, that it would automatically apply.
Okay, let's see what it did there. Oh, we got rid of my other transition. Oh no, it applied that time. Okay, so it looks like you had to do these steps though. Now, well, I did bring in 2 cross blurs though, I will say. So I don't know if that, but basically what I had to do was I had to select all first, then do duration, then hit enter, and then it applied it.
Okay.
Show us kind of the
thanks.
order
Okay.
of steps, apparently. Okay. So real quick with backgrounds. This is another place where order matters. This is a good place too, actually, to show. So when I, oh, it won't let me trim to fit. However, at least you'll see that option. Normally with video, when you bring it in and you could push it, you'll also see that option of trim to fit. So, or also with images usually. I don't know why it doesn't do it with the background, but so that's an option. If you do have something else you want to put in, you don't want it to push everything else, you just want it to fit in that right spot, then you'll have that option there that says trim to fit. Don't know why that's not able to select that, but let me just push it for this purpose. So in this case, you could put in a background, right? And if you changed, see if I got the order right. Yes. If you change the scale of your video, then you could have that background behind the video as well. So that's something, of course, the kids, that it won't work though, I don't think, if you put the background on video 2 and the original video clip on video 1. I think the order does matter in that. Okay, so does everybody want some time to play with that? Adding some titles, adding some subtitles, changing all that, putting in some backgrounds, changing the lengths of the clips. Yes, all right. We're almost at time anyhow, so let's do maybe 5 minutes for that and then any last minute questions. Okay, so real quick, because I know we're at basically at time here. Two quick things I want to show. Back here at the My Media, one thing we did not get time to play with is the narrate option, but students can narrate directly into their video. So when they click narrate, they'll record, and then once they've recorded, it'll tell them, right, of course, that the recording's starting, and then the recording will start, and then once they stop that recording, they can preview it, they can decide if they want to save it or if they want to delete it and record again. And then once it saves that recording, then they'll see it as a separate audio file underneath their audio. So they can do the same things here with modifying the volume of it throughout. So if they need the voiceover louder than the music or whatever it is at that moment, then they can customize that as well. And then right here at the end, once they're completely finished, that's where they will click finish. And they're going to choose, you know, most of the time it's just going to be a video. And then the quality, depending on what type of account you have in terms of free or paid, some of the things will be limited. And then they also want to select Drive here so that it will put a copy of it in their Google Drive in a folder that automatically gets labeled as WeVideo. I've noticed that sometimes that doesn't work even when they've selected Drive. So if that's the case, then once they've finished, once they've exported the video, they do have an option to download that, or they could copy the link of the exported video and they could share that link with you, or they could come back to that link later if they needed to access the video differently. Like they could download it, then upload it to their Drive if they need to share it. There's all of those different options. And then the last thing, real quick, cancel, just here in our chat. Let me find our chat here. I want to add a link if you want to click on it so that you have it later for the WeVideo.com Academy. So this just has a ton of information, a ton of tutorial videos. So if there's something very specific you're looking for, then they have a lot of information that you can go back to, or especially being from home, right, that we could share with our students and say, hey, this is your assignment for today, watch this video and try this out in your video, and then, you know, share with me whatever you created. And so that's another good resource. And like I said, if you don't attend Dana's session today, I do suggest, especially if you're middle or high school, I suggest you watch it later, because she will talk a lot about creating groups, assigning specific assignments to students in a media class, and how to help them share projects and all of those things. So again, if you don't get a chance to attend, I would suggest that you watch it later. And I think that's it. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got some good information. And all right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erica. That was really great.